This is the walkthrough of the Spirit Ghostbusters Smoke Trap. This is a custom trap, one of a kind, and it does what we all wanted to do, which is make smoke. I'm going to give you a nice little walkthrough of how to take apart and add the liquid that you'll need to make smoke. You will need to know your way around a screwdriver, so a little flathead and a Phillips should do fine. Fogging juice you can pick up at any sort of Halloween store. This is just fog juice, or you can also Amazon it. This is a nice little Amazon one that comes with a little filling nozzle. So yeah, you just will fill up the unit inside, and you'll use the pedal over here to activate the upgraded light, which is right here, and make smoke. So before we get into that, I'm going to unplug the pedal here. We'll learn more about that in a bit. Here's also the recharging cable, so you can recharge the power that's needed for this. But before we learn about how that system works, let's just take a look at the Spirit Trap itself. So the Spirit Trap itself, if you're not familiar with it, it comes with a little switch up here. This switch turns on the lights. You get a nice little status light and this blinking light. And if you take a look around the unit, you can see it's pretty much a stock Spirit Trap. There are some new additions to this that I've added myself. So the first thing you'll notice is a little charge port right here. This charge port is going to allow you to charge the battery right here. You plug it into the little port. You'll plug it into the wall, and this will allow you to charge the mechanism that makes the smoke without having to open the unit itself. So this was a nice little thing I wanted to make sure that I added, so you don't have to open it up every time you want to give it a nice charge. You'll also notice there's a little switch here which allows you to turn on or off the ability to produce smoke. So if there's a case where you just want to kill switch it and just use the unit as itself, you switch to the circle, which is open, meaning there's no connection, and you'll just have a regular Spirit Trap. But if you want to make the smoke, you'll want to switch the line, which means it's making a connection, and then you'll plug in your pedal. And when you plug into the pedal to the back here, you have the ability to fire up the smoke. So press that, and it'll make smoke. You'll also notice that the Spirit Trap itself has a standard light sequence of green, which looks nice and is fun, but adding the additional LED made sure that you would get a really strong light, because when this is producing smoke, you want the light to really make the smoke even more of a special effect. So you see a nice strong light to illuminate the smoke gives it a better effect. So that light was very essential into installing. Now the doors themselves, if you're not familiar with a Spirit Trap, you simply use this button to open and close. I have noticed some people having problems with a door being slightly open like this, and they're having problems kind of trying to fix that. This is a really easy fix. You'll just use a little flathead screwdriver, and what you'll do is you'll press the door down, and if you look right in this corner, I don't know if you can see that, right here in this corner there's a little gear. So you're just gonna very gently push the gear down. It should, depending on how ajar the door is, but just one click usually does the job, and you'll see it's working just fine. So again, if the door is cracked open and you're like, how do I fix that? Just press the door down, gently press down with the flathead, and click it, and that should fix it. So that's pretty much all you really need to know about the trap itself. Let's go ahead and get into the insides. So to access the inside of this unit, good, unplug the pedal there. It's just a couple of screws. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside. So just these 4 guys. But while we're at it, let's also take a look at the battery compartment door, which is right here. So you'll use a Phillips to open this. Oops. And this is going to expose the 2 AA batteries for the standard lights of the Spirit Trap. So if the Spirit lights are acting weird or low on battery, you'll just want to open that one up to access and replace batteries. Now for the smoke effects itself, these batteries have nothing to do with it, so don't worry about the double A's. When it comes to charging the smoke, you'll want to open up these 4 screws. So let's go ahead and take these screws out. So once all the screws are out, 1, 2, 3, 4, the next part is going to be opening the case. The only kind of thing to keep a lookout for is this little handle has a mechanism system. So when you open this, a couple pieces might fall out, but it's very easy to put together, so I'll make sure that you see that. Otherwise, you know, we're just gonna slide these 2 halves apart. Before we do that though, sometimes I forget, at the bottom you have the wheel axles. Make sure that you pop these off because they kind of hold the 2 halves together. So you're just gonna pop these off as simple as this. There you go, there's the 2 wheel axles we removed, and now we can slide the 2 halves apart. So if you slide it open and things start flying around, don't worry, this is a very easy thing to put back together. So let's go ahead and open it up. Here's our handle mechanism. So let's just go over this first because this is probably the first thing you're gonna be like, what? What was that? All right, so basically what comes out of here are 3 pieces. You got the handle, this little nub, and then you have this pushing mechanism. So to reconfigure this, just remember the small end of this nub goes down the hole. There we go. And this piece, the longer pushing piece of the rod, goes into the hole as well. And you can actually test the mechanism by pressing it. You can feel it click in and click out. Click in, click out, click in, click out. So yeah, that's pretty much all that is. You can put that off to the side, you don't have to worry about it for now. Okay, so now as we continue to slide open, this is what we have. We have the 2 halves of the trap. So if we take a look inside what's going on, we have, this is the atomizer right here. This is the hose system. So you can see this little nub plugs into where the smoke's coming from, and this rig sends the smoke up in 2 spots, so it flows upward from 2 areas of the trap. So when you refill, you're actually going to refill this. And to refill, it's actually quite easy. You can just turn the head of this, and it gives you access to the tank. You can just reinsert your fluids like so, fill it up, and then reapply the top nice and firm. Maybe have a cloth you can wipe up a little bit in here. Also note over here on the right side is where the pump is, and that's what's blowing the air into the atomizer, and the smoke's coming out through the tubing. And you can just make sure when you reassemble this that these 2 tubes are going right back where they're supposed to, which is into these 2 little cutouts right here. So right here you can feel the grooves. They just sit right in there, and then you close the housing. You also notice over on this side is where the battery pack is. You don't have to worry about that because the switch is outside, so you can access the switch right on the outside. And then you also have the status light in the front showing you when it's on and off. So that's cool. You also notice that the things that separate the 2 halves, which are the wiring, you can disconnect all of these if you wanted to. That way you could work with the 3 halves separated if you wanted to kind of have less constraint. You can separate them. Also notice there is a charging USB cord that is what charges the atomizer. So this you just plug into any USB port and it'll charge up the atomizer, and this charge for the battery is what powers everything, and this powers the atomizer. So it powers the pump, powers the light, this powers the atomizer. And this USB cable is exposed on the outside. I can show you where to access that later. But for now, let's go ahead and tuck this back inside, and this has a groove as well. And let's just go ahead and reconnect these wires. We've successfully filled the tank. That's all we need to do. The only reason we need to open this up is to fill the tank. Otherwise, everything else charges externally. So that's plugged in. This is plugged in. And these guys just tuck inside here. You don't have to worry too much about it. So yeah, now we're gonna close it back up. Pay attention not to pinch any wires. That's the only thing you really need to worry about as you're putting the two halves back together. There are a couple things that slide into each other. So you have this one piece here, which is on the front. This slides into both halves, connecting them. So this is gonna connect into here at the bottom. And then you also have the LED screen up here, or blinking LEDs, that also is gonna slide into the half here as well. And then the door mechanism, which controls the doors, also has a groove. So make sure that you're sliding into that as well. So we'll just line up all those grooves together. Takes a second, a little bit of patience, no reason to rush. Line it up. Line up internal pieces here. Okay. Okay, we're all pretty much lined up there. Now when it's all sliding together nice and good, just double check the bottom. Make sure you're not pinching any wires, okay? USB is right here, so just pull that out a little bit. Make sure that's also not pinching. It has a groove, so just find that groove right there. There you go, you should be able to feel it, it pulls out. It actually has a little home up here in the corner. So if you pull out some slack, you could go ahead and slip that into its little groove. And there's a magnet there, so it'll hold it. All right, so this all looks good. You could flip it back over. The last piece here is reinserting the mechanism for the assembly of the handle. Again, that's 3 pieces. You can test it that it's working. You're gonna crack open the end here, and you're just gonna slip it down so it connects to the doors. There's that little pushing mechanism. And then you can close it up. Now we're all closed up, and we're pretty much good. If you remember earlier about being able to close the mechanisms of the door gears, just lightly apply pressure on the gears and press them down. And that's going to reset the door. All right, you can also go ahead and test it really quick. So let's go ahead and make sure power's on, power light is on. Let's go ahead and plug in our pedal. Plug the pedal into the back end. And let's go ahead and press. Nice. So it's working. Perfect. Last thing you're going to do is go ahead and reinsert the screws and then pop these back in to the bottom. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the assembly. If you need to reset the doors, you know, do that with a flathead and the gear, and you're pretty much ready to rock and roll. You refilled the juice. A full tank of juice should last you a full day. You know, if you're using it all throughout the day, it's nice to carry around and just hold this in your hand and have a smoking trap, or you know, you could put it somewhere on your kit and have it just smoking as you're walking around. It's pretty cool. These are smaller wheels, and that's because the wheel wells aren't as deep because there's so much stuff packed in there now. So this isn't really a good unit for just sliding long distances. It's really just a display unit, but the wheels are on there and it will slide a bit, just doesn't roll too well. That's pretty much it for the assembly and disassembly. I guess we'll do some cool smoking shots now. Awesome. Alright, so let's talk about a couple troubleshooting things that you may run into. So let's start with the easiest. So you're pressing the button, nothing happens. Make sure there's good contact here. A lot of the times I find that just making sure there's good contact could solve that problem. You press it, no light. So the center light, I'm talking about the guy in the middle, that's not lighting up. That means your battery compartment, this guy here, your blue pack, doesn't have a charge. So you should be able to tell by the light indicator whether it has a charge or not. If you just double check that, make sure you're on solid line, meaning connection. You can also just flip the switch and double check. If you're not getting a light, you need to charge this. So that's simple as using the provided battery pack, charging this in there, battery pack charger, and go ahead and plug this into the wall, and this charger will power that up for you. I usually leave mine overnight, and then it'll last me all next day and even more. So yep, double check that. So if you don't get any center light, or you don't hear the pump, the air pump running, and you're pressing this, you're not getting anything, it's either connection, make sure the connection's good, or charge the battery. Now, if you're getting light and you're getting the air pump sound but no smoke, this could be just simply charging the atomizer. So down here at the bottom, you have a USB plug. This is what's going to charge the atomizer. You can pull the cord out. This will run into the wall. It might feel a little tough, but there is cord in there that you can pull out, so feel free to just stretch as much as you need in there. If it's pinched a little bit, it might be a little hard, but just plug that into the wall, and this will charge up the atomizer. I, again, usually leave that charging overnight. Unless I just need it really quick, I'll charge it for an hour, and then I can use it for 20 minutes or so. So yeah, make sure that's charged up. Now, if you left it overnight and you charged it for a couple hours and you're still not getting smoke, chances are that inside here, just double check that you're not seeing any smoke building up. You may have to open this up and just make sure that these connectors of the hoses are all connected. That's probably could be the problem. You can also check to see if there's, while it's open, if there's any fog juice. If there's no fog juice, you'll want to fill it up. Now, if you're going to do a full day of trooping with this and you want to make sure there's lots of smoke, just fill the tank up every time. That'll ensure you'll have smoke for the day. And that's pretty much the only things you'll run into is the motor or the light. Make sure the blue pack is charged, or the smoke's not coming out. Make sure that you power up the atomizer and make sure that there's fluid. If you're pressing the button, if you've been opening and closing this and you're getting problems with the doors, just remember this mechanism is a 3-piece mechanism. Make sure that you're putting that in correctly. If it feels tough, like you can't press it, don't force it. Open back up, redo the mechanism, and place it back in, and then you should be able to feel it. Now, if you're pressing it and the doors look messed up, sometimes they can do that. It's just the finickiness of the Spirit Trap. You can always adjust that easily, like I said before, by pressing it down, and depending where it is in its positioning, hold it and lightly move the gear here on the side, the white gears, and that's going to go ahead and fix it for you. Again, if you feel like a headache of taking out these 4 screws, remember, it's just 4 screws. You know, a lot of people have done a lot greater things with much further strides, so just open up these 4 screws. You'll get used to opening it every once in a while. That's all you got to do. And really, it's a simple system. You have all the charge ports on the outside. The only reason to open it up is to refill the fog juice. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need to open up for. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy this ghost trap. I think the smoking ghost trap is like the unicorn of things to have. So I had fun building this, and I hope you'll have fun playing with it.